Hey everybody, welcome to the ReCoop. I'm Cooper Daniels and I'm a guy that knows a little about a lot. And today we're continuing with the crypto series and we're doing an interview. Yep, we're doing another interview, folks. I'm talking to Archie Chaudhury from Fortier blockchain, Choicecoin, and they recently released a research paper on their Alchemy algorithm. Alchemy is a price and volatility predictor for algo. And it's working, folks. They're getting good results, and he gives me a sneak peek on what his algorithm is saying for the next 30 days. It's good news. You should stay tuned, and you should hear what he has to say about that. I mean, we're going to learn all about it. And this guy's 19 years old. He's in college. He walked in to the MIT Bitcoin Hackathon, and he won. I mean, come on. We got a star in the making in the Algorand ecosystem. His name is Archie, and his partner's name is Brian, and Choicecoin is not to be ignored. I'm excited about the project. I'm especially excited about the Alchemy algorithm, which seeks to level the playing field between institutions and retail investors. They're doing good work. He's a great dude. I had a great time talking to him. Nice guy. So, hey, without further ado, Archie Chaudhury from Fortier Blockchain. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody. I'm here with Archie Chaudhury from Fortier Blockchain, Choicecoin, and just recently released a paper on their new algorithm, their price predictor, Algomy. So you got a lot of exciting things going on, huh, Archie?
Yeah. It's been a tumultuous couple of months working on the Argand grant and working on all sort of these different projects on the behalf of Fortier. And yeah, we're excited to engage more with the community, engage more with the Argand ecosystem in the upcoming months.
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, I talked to your partner, Brian Haney, and we talked a lot about Choicecoin. We talked about you. He was like, yeah, he's like, a lot of the brains behind the operation is this guy, Archie. He's 19 years old. He's in college. And I was like, oh, man. Every time I hear, it just makes me feel like, oh, I've made some wonderful choices in my life. But it doesn't matter. You clearly have. So could you just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you even came to this, how you came to Algorand, how you met Brian, and what a little bit about your history is?
Yeah, sure. So I first got into blockchain through Bitcoin. I started reading about Bitcoin when I was in high school. And like just sort of this idea of having a democratized system where it's decentralized. Like you don't have to put trust in centralized authorities such as banks, such as governments, and it's really this idea of eliminating the middleman, but also eliminating centralization and corruption, and that sort of decentralized ecosystem and kind of like the philosophy behind it was really what drew me into Bitcoin and blockchain. And obviously at the time I didn't have as much technical skills as I do now, but I could appreciate the sort of just the philosophy that all these hackers and these cryptography enthusiasts had with the ecosystem. And when I got to college, I'm a mechanical engineering major. I studied mechanical engineering, and then my second semester, I saw that there was this graduate level course open for blockchain, and I signed up for that. It was obviously like a 4,000 level class. It was like there were like PhD students, graduate students, and me being like a 19-year-old undergrad was a little intimidating. But that was really dealing into more of the cryptographic, like the technical side of things. Like how does hashing work? How is a peer-to-peer network developed? How is a big part of that class was also like focusing on, hey, what is really, what kind of blockchains are really good and what snake oil. And that was also like one of the things that our professor really emphasized. And in that class, I think it was in late March, early April, one of the teaching instructors went ahead and posted, hey, there's this competition from MIT happening. I mean, obviously everyone in this class is relatively technically inclined. If you want, there's this hackathon happening and you can sign up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I have nothing to do this weekend. Why not? I just signed up for it. And, I had gotten much more technically inclined than I was in high school. I had some experience developing websites and, some backend stuff. So I was like, okay, maybe I could, use some of that to build something pretty cool here. So I signed up for the hackathon, and then, it was like we were in this Discord server. I mean, obviously you're on Discord, so you know how that's like. It was chaotic, and suddenly I'm trying to look for a team, and then I see this green alien profile whose profile pic. His name was Green Rex. It was Brian, obviously, but back then I didn't know what his name was. And he goes, "Yeah, I'm looking for a team too." So he sent me his Google Scholar and GitHub report. I was like, "Wow, this is a brilliant person, obviously, because he has published papers in law, mathematics,
Yeah.
coding, space, whatever." Like I was just like, "Wow," I was blown away. I was like, "Wow, this guy's amazing." So I wanted to work with him, and it looked like he wanted to work with me. So we signed up for the hackathon. We were a team. Our team name was Cryptots. I don't know who came up with that. I still am awesome who came up with that name, but it was a cool name. It was like, okay, let's just build something cool. So we had 36 hours. I think it was like started on a Friday evening and it lasted till Sunday morning. So we had, I think, approximately 36 hours to build something. And one of the challenges, like the hackathon competition, the way it worked was like one of the challenges was to build a decentralized autonomous organization for Algorand. Like Algorand was one of the sponsors. I think Algorand Inc. was for the Algorand Foundation. One of those entities was a sponsor of the hackathon, and as part of that challenge, we built a decentralized autonomous organization on Algorand, and yeah, we ended up actually winning the competition. We met Ryan Fox, who's works at Algorand Inc. It was a great experience, and we just learned how easy it is to build on the Algorand blockchain, but also how good the community is. Like joining the Discord, seeing how willing they were to help us with our project. It was just a really good experience. So once we won, obviously that was great, winning the hackathon, and then Brian was like, "Let's go ahead and apply for a grant from the foundation." And here we are.
Wow. I know I kind of joked with Brian that you guys are kind of like, oh, you want to go win the MIT Bitcoin Hackathon? And you're like, yeah. And it sounds like you kind of did it that way. You're like, oh, I've got nothing to do this weekend. And then you just kind of headed off and, won the Algorand challenge. That's so cool. I mean, that's exciting, man.
Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, obviously there was a little more like we were always like, really stressed during the building, but
yeah.
In terms like what led up, like I was completely, just a spur of the moment thing that ended up turning into something great.
I mean, life seems to kind of go that way. If you just kind of leap, if you go for it, a lot of times you find yourself being like, wow, I didn't think I could do this. And all of a sudden I'm doing it.
Right.
So that's really neat, man. So, all right. So you guys win that, you create this relationship with Algorand, you apply for a grant, and you get that grant, you create Fortier blockchain, and that is an LLC, correct? It's an LLC.
Partnership. It's a partnership. And
then from there, you decide, okay, we're going to do Choicecoin. And then also part of your, just before we go into Choicecoin, part of your grant with Algorand was to create an AI algo like price prediction tool, correct?
Yep. So it was supposed to be, it's an AI, a machine learning powered price prediction and volatility predictor from Algorand. I can send you the link to it. I don't know if you've read it, like the official grant statement that was publicized on the Algorand Foundation. But yeah, that was part of the deliverables. And in reality, a lot of the stuff that's come out of Fortier blockchain has been part of the deliverables associated with the Algorand grant. Choicecoin has kind of taken a leap of its own beyond that and has kind of like evolved into this community. But we can talk more about that, obviously. But yeah, that to answer your question, yes, that was part of the grant deliverables.
Yeah, and so and then recently, just a few days ago, you guys put out a paper on Algomy, which or the price predictor, and so we're going to talk about that, and I want to talk about that soon. But let's talk about Choice, because we talked a lot about Choice with Brian, and then I realized after our interview, what a robust international community you guys have. I was surprised to see, and I mean, it seems like you have a huge crowd in Africa. Is that correct?
Yeah. So kind of taking a detour. It's like the way Choicecoin happened was when, as part of our work with the Algorand Foundation on our grant, we were going to develop a voting system just for, I think it was part of like similar building on stuff we built for the DAO during the hackathon. But we thought, okay, hey, why not build a way for voting to occur on the blockchain? And that was really the goal here, was to say, okay, let's take voting. And there's so many problems, Coop, with traditional voting. You know, there's you have voter suppression, voter suppression creates problems. You have to put trust in a centralized system, and there's just so many issues with centralized voting that we thought, okay, what if we created a way for voting to occur on a blockchain and tokenize it? Because obviously tokenizing is a great way to create value, capture value, and say that you have something being like in physical or semi-digital thing behind the project you're making. So Choicecoin kind of evolved out of that. It was this idea that, hey, we have a voting system in which anyone can vote anywhere. A, that solves the problem of voter suppression and people having to wait in 5-hour-long lines to vote. And B, you have this ability that now all votes are recorded on a blockchain, thus reducing the trust you have to put in a centralized system. So that's where Choicecoin evolved. And once Choicecoin came out, we were like, okay, we need to distribute this. We set up participation programs. I know Crypto Nerd, one of the other video makers on the Algorand ecosystem, made a video about it. It was this ability to promote democracy and write letters to your congressman, et cetera. That was one of the participation programs.
I thought, I did. I wrote some letters to congressmen. I thought, and that's what kind of put you guys on my radar. Is I was like, how cool is it that these guys are trying to promote this type of engagement and this type of like education almost to congressmen about blockchain and about what's out there. And I just thought that's what made me reach out to Brian initially. And then also he was posting all these papers and I was like, wow, this guy is clearly very smart. And so let's so yes, I did. I'm very aware of that participation program.
Yeah. So when we had that participation program, and I guess we posted about it, on our website, on our Discord, I think on Reddit as well. And I guess someone in a majority of our African concentration is in Nigeria. Someone in Nigeria must have saw this and been like, wow, this is a great opportunity. And I think one of the reasons that me and Brian have talked about this is, it might not sound like much money to us, but if at the current price valuation on Tinyman, we can talk about Tinyman later.
Yeah, well, we're going to definitely talk about that.
Yeah. If someone stands to make $1,000 in Nigeria, that's a great opportunity. That's something that can, I think I looked this up. It can support, almost an entire year's worth of, I think, living expenses or something. So that $1,000 is a lot of money. So obviously people in Africa wanted to take advantage of the opportunity. And also I think it spoke to them, because this idea of a better improved voting software that fundamentally is much better than the centralized systems they have. They're like, okay, we want this in our communities. We want this in our country's political elections. And we were tired of, they're obviously tired of having to deal with centralized systems that are corrupt, that are inherently not equal. So they thought, okay, this is a good opportunity. And they went and ran with that. That's really where a lot of participation came from.
Well, and this is this is something, right before we talked, I was talking to Bilal from Fame.
Right.
And they have a huge presence in Nigeria as well. He also has another project, Authentium, which is addressing the food supply chain. And I think he's going to Nigeria later this month. And so it seems to me that there is a lot of activity happening. And so this seems to be that crypto's on their radar in Nigeria.
Yeah.
It's obviously going to be a wonderful tool. That's really cool. I want to learn more about, what's going on in Nigeria. But
definitely.
Yeah. So cool. So, all right. So, in essence, we're going to talk about Choice, but in essence, I talked with Brian about it, but how do you see Choice scaling up, or where do you see it starting? Like, what are the initial applications for Choicecoin? And then how big do you see it kind of getting?
Yeah. So I think Choicecoin's initially, so we're planning on launching in like a voting application in Q1 2022 and kind of scaling that up. I think initially it would be used to help other decentralized organizations make decisions, because currently a lot of decentralized organizations, they have voting, but they have it in a very clunky way where, you log on to some website and you enter in votes and then it's calculated and you have to trust that this service is, and it's actually ironically, it is centralized to an extent because you have to trust that it is being counted accurately. I think with Choicecoin, you leverage not only this infrastructure, but you're also leveraging the Algorand blockchain, which is, incredibly fast, incredibly efficient, and is a public ledger. So I think at start, it'll help other DAOs and other decentralized organizations make decisions in a quick and efficient manner. And I think I see it scaling up the voting software. Essentially, I mean, it really depends on what the community wants and how it's going to go forward, because it is. I mean, Choicecoin is also itself decentralized, so a lot of it depends on the community, the holders essentially of Choicecoin, how they want to see the project go forward. But I do see it, if the community wants to move in that direction, I could easily see it, playing a major role in maybe 5-10 years down the line in political elections. I think you talked about Brian with this. You're talking about like Los Angeles voting. I think I saw the interview.
Yeah.
I can easily see it being a part where instead of people voting at a poll station, people can vote remotely, and they have trust that not only is the system, this remote system, because other organizations have tried remote voting before, but they haven't made it decentralized and they haven't made it secure. So a remote voting system that's secure, that anyone can just sign into, send their vote. They know it's cryptographically secure because Algorand uses post quantum cryptography. I can explain more because you might have read that a lot in a lot of my papers. Is post quantum cryptography. Since Algorand uses that, that this entire system is secure and it's recorded in a public ledger. So it kind of solves multiple problems with voter suppression and increased trust in the system, because you can check that your vote was counted accurately.
That's cool. So essentially your first step is to be a better, more efficient, secure voting mechanism for decentralized autonomous organizations.
Yes.
And because I know a lot of these, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of these will actually handle these types of decisions like just on Discord, right? Like so there's a need for this type of voting. I've been in crypto communities that are like, all right, we need to vote about something, and then everyone's like, okay, how are we going to vote? And they're like, why don't we have a solution for this? Like, this is exactly. How are we even saying that this is the solution? How crypto is the solution, and we can't even come up with a voting mechanism based on our blockchain or whatever.
Right.
So there's a definite need for this solution. And and like we talked about with Brian, he sees it very much. And I was trying to understand in that interview, like how choice would play into these types of, like, if Los Angeles had an election, how choice would play into it. And then I think he had mentioned in that interview, like, well, it's possible maybe in that situation, or like in a DAO, for example, a DAO would have to commit a certain amount of choice in order to have their, in order to have the voting tool. I mean, how do you foresee that working?
Yeah, I see it very similar to what Brian mentioned. I think the way it will work is like with any other token organization would need X amount of tokens, not only because obviously the way decentralized system will work, there will be nodes kind of hosting this entire voting platform.
Right.
So by buying the choice, you're essentially rewarding these nodes for setting up this, for supporting and hosting the platform. And when an organization has no choice, they can then use that to set up their own voting mechanism on the Algorand blockchain using Choicecoin, or specifically it would be something like, for example, if I'm going to give it right, if XYZ DAO needed to set up a voting mechanism for their third improvement proposal, then they'll be able to get a coin called Choicecoin XYZ DAO third improvement proposal, and then they'll send that to their constituents. Or I think that ideally the way it'll work is they'll have like however number of options there are, there'll be 4 Algorand addresses dedicated to that option, and then they'll ask their constituents to log into the system, vote, and then all of this information of where each person voted will be public on the blockchain, so they can see that their choice coin that represents one vote went to the correct address representing that option.
Have you talked to various projects that are working on DAOs on Algorand about implementing choice on over there, or
that is one of our that's kind of like the process we're moving towards, because I mean it's been so hectic recently, but like that's where we're going. So that's where like kind of like upcoming months, definitely once we launch our voting mechanism and once we do all this stuff with kind of like stabilizing what Choicecoin is and figuring all that out, that's definitely the direction we're going to go.
All right, so let's talk about Algomy, and you mentioned Tinyman. So let's start with Tinyman. So what has the experience been for Choice on Tinyman? How has that been going?
Yeah, so that was really when I said we were really busy. That's really what it was. I mean, it's not really being busy. Making a liquidity pool itself was incredibly efficient. I was like, wow, they did a really good job with making this technology. But it was just so stressful because people, started logging in, they started trading, and it was great to finally have a price attached to Choicecoin. That was one of the things where like, wow, this token doesn't have a price attached to it. That's not good. But
Yeah.
now that it does on Tinyman, we saw incredible growth over the first couple of hours. I mean, we had initially priced it at in the liquidity pool, like I think it was 1/20th of a cent, and it shot up to half a cent in like a matter of hours. And it was like, wow, this is crazy. People are buying into it. And that's one of the things we really thought was exciting, was because a lot of other, and I think Tinyman inspired a lot of these ASH to just spring up, because people are like, oh, we can make money off of this. They I don't know if you were on the Reddit, but there's so many coins springing up, which I think is a great thing for the communities. Like now there's meme coins on Algorand, Squid Coin, Doge, Algo, etc.
Yeah, I saw those. Yeah,
all these tokens springing up on the ecosystem. I think Choicecoin, was one of those tokens that came out, and it has maintained a relatively good amount of a good price, and it has also maintained a strong community backing. So we were excited to see that. Hey, Tinyman kind of proves that, hey, this project is legitimate. It's one of those legitimate projects. There's a bunch of projects on Algorand that are legitimate, but like Choicecoin's also, I think, one of those legit projects. I think Tinyman Launch showed that.
That's awesome. And so do you know where the price is currently?
We can definitely check that.
Cool.
I believe it's at 0.004. So that's approximately, it's close. It's 4/10 of a penny right now, and I think that's
so clearly almost a half. Almost a
half. It was at a half. It was actually over a half before, but now it's at a back. It's going up and down.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be nice to have some sort of metric, a price to your coin. Okay, so this kind of leads us to Algomy, and right. So it was part of your grant to create this, and I read the paper yesterday. And it seems like, so you're focused obviously on Algorand volatility and price, and the tool can also be used for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano, correct?
Yes, in theory, it could be used for any digital asset. We specifically focused on those three and sort of like building our algorithm, testing it out, because Bitcoin and Ethereum obviously are the two largest blockchains and cryptocurrencies, respectively. And Cardano, we believed, was very similar to Algorand because it has proof of stake technology, and it's the similarities there. So we decided to focus on those three. We also tested it on others, like we tested on Solana, we tested on just other assets, but those three were the ones we really focused on testing, and we got relatively good predictions on all of those.
So you're saying, because Brian was also saying when I talked to him a few weeks ago, he was saying that it was pretty accurate. Like you guys are getting good results. So so why don't you tell us, instead of me trying to tell them, why don't you tell us about what Algomy is, how it's working, how it works, and and then we'll get into some more of the fun stuff, like maybe where you see the price going or what the technology is telling us and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. So Algomy is a machine learning algorithm that uses an iterative process to just look at. So we looked at the price of Algo, the Algorand asset, from its launch on major, public launch, which was I think September 2019, and we essentially looked at a 720-day period from September 2019 to the end of September 2021, and our algorithm essentially uses a backpropagation algorithm to look at all of these closing prices and predict the closing price for the next 30 days based on all this data that is analyzed. And the way we determined what the results were was I think it was on September 29th, we looked at the results and it said, hey, Algorand's going to go back up to 195. And that's what ended up happening. We're like, okay, so the general trend is in the correct direction. And that's really what we were kind of excited. Was like, hey, this algorithm is approximately 60-70% of the time, it's predicting the general trend accurately. And that was really where we wanted to go with this, was having a way where the people in the Algorand ecosystem can know where the price of the asset is going with a relatively good confidence.
Yeah, it seemed when in the paper you say that you're essentially, with this algorithm, you're seeking to kind of level the playing field between like institutions and regular retail investors, basically.
Yep.
Because
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, yeah, and so well, no, you go ahead.
No, you're definitely right. I mean, because like anyone here who's like not a big player is a retail investor, like me, you, etc. We're all retail investors in the Algorand ecosystem because we hold algo, and a lot of these is one of the things we looked at was a lot of these institutionalized investors, especially such as big funds and big asset holders or big pools with big players in the network. They often have all of this technology infrastructure that allows them to make orders that like send hundreds of orders every minute. It's really crazy how what kind of technology they have is where they're essentially taking advantage of arbitrage, taking advantage of any trends they see in the market to essentially make large amounts of money. And the average investor, all we can really do, or all they could really do, is just say, okay, I'm studying my financials and I'm saying, okay, maybe I like Algorand, I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna hold it. Well, we thought, what if the average investor had access to a technology that while developed by Fortier blockchain, could be used by anyone to predict the price of algo with relative confidence, thus giving the average investor access to this predictive technology.
And you are using, and you're also incorporating a lot of these tools that these huge institutions use in order to predict price and all that. That's incorporated.
That we incorporated a lot of these. I mean, obviously, with the paper, you read this. A lot of these statistics, such as RSI and volatility. I mean, that was one of the biggest things, was volatility, predicting the volatility of algo over the next month. We got a low number on that, which was really exciting to see that, hey, algo is a much less volatile asset than a lot of these other coins that seem to just spike up and down. So that was also one of the things that made us confident.
How do you account for like whales and whether they their behaviors of maybe dumping or buying huge things? Like how does that play into it?
So the way the algorithm works is obviously machine learning. It looks at the data that has been presented before and it tries to make predictions off of that. So before, there have been huge spikes and drops in algo, though surprisingly less than other currencies that are competitor like Dogecoin or Litecoin. There have been spikes before. So the machine learning algorithm, it takes that into account by looking at, hey, what were the market parameters when this spike in the closing price occurred, or what were the market parameters when this dip in the closing price occurred, and it tries to predict when this will happen next. And obviously, it predicted there wouldn't be any spikes, at least in the foreseeable future, or any massive dips over 35%, I think was what this number we got, over the next month. But that's essentially what it does, is it looks at when has this happened in the past, what were the specific conditions statistically and financially that caused this to happen, and then trying to predict at what points in time in the future will this occur, just take that into account.
So when is this tool going to be available? Like when can just the average person kind of use it?
Yeah, we're working with the Algorand Foundation, and we just submitted our like here's what we have, and we're working to make that obviously the tool a little bit better, but it should be available relatively soon to as a GitHub repository where anyone can download it and etc.
That's so cool. And so, I mean, you also have Bitcoin. You're also the tool, you're working and looking at Bitcoin as well. And I don't know, I haven't looked in a couple of hours, but it seems like Bitcoin's doing very well while the altcoins are it seems like money's moving from everything into Bitcoin right now. Last I looked, it was like 57 or 58. What do you, I mean, I don't know exactly what's happening. I saw yesterday there was a whole bunch of Tether that went into like a $1.5 billion purchase of Bitcoin last week, which seems kind of weird. And I don't know what's going on there. And then we obviously have news of like an ETF, a possible ETF. I think people are thinking that might be coming. I mean, what are you seeing with Bitcoin? Are you seeing anything?
So from what I can tell, especially in the market movements and our algorithm was not extremely bullish. It was bullish on Bitcoin. It was bullish on all three coins, Algorand, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. Kind of stable for Cardano, I think, which is what we've seen. Cardano hasn't really spiked in either way. But I think what's happening is from obviously stepping away from data science for a bit and going into like traditional, human behavior, like why is this happening? It's because I guess investors are just saying, hey, Bitcoin is the safest digital asset because it's comparable to gold, even though you can't do much with it. Like there's not much of like a development infrastructure. There's not applications being built on Bitcoin. It is still the closest thing you have to digital gold. And that's why people, I think they're just storing all of their assets into Bitcoin, essentially, to be safe, especially crypto investors.
Right. So that if there is some, if there's a big problem in China or if whatever, people are being like, all right, if there's going to be a huge crash, we want our money over there where it seems like, it seems like Gensler is, it seems like the least likely to be heavily regulated. And it does appear to be the one that they'll be left alone. All right. Okay. Let's talk about Algorand then. What are you seeing for Algorand? What is the algorithm saying for Algorand?
Yeah. Price prediction is always fun, right?
Yeah. Right. Let's do it. I mean, I don't get to do that. I think it's more annoying. This is like the least annoying time for me to ask for a price prediction. So I'm going to take advantage of it.
Yeah. So obviously you read the paper, that the algorithm predicted Algorand breaking sort of that $2 barrier that we've been at in October. Yeah. So we've been at this $2 barrier for quite some time now, where the price seems to spike up over $2 and it goes back down and goes back up, and it's been like this $2 barrier has been there. But the algorithm predicted that not only is it going to break $2 in October, which I think it already did at one point, then it went back down, but it's going to consistently stay above $2 moving forward, and that's why we're bullish on Algorand, obviously. But I think that was really good news, was to say, hey, finally we're getting past this $2 barrier that's been in the market, I think, for a couple of periods. And I think at least like a month, I think it's been present in the market for Algorand. I think that's exciting news.
Yeah.
I see, to answer your question, I see it going over and staying over $2 mid and late October.
And that seems to make a lot of sense. Even in your paper, you mentioned Tinyman, because once everybody, this week, people are still messing around. They have a couple of more days to commit their algo to governance. But it seems like once that's over and people have locked up, so many of the people that are active in the community lock up their algo, then they're going to want to continue to go on Tinyman, and algo is going to be a great tool for that. So it seems like there'll be a lot of buying pressure from the community once governance begins.
Yep. Yeah. The way I see it is the reason, I guess like the human reason was we talked about Tinyman was because when I look at the market, like I think it's really only Ethereum and Algorand that you can have so many assets on. And through the launch of Tinyman, which is essentially, it's like Uniswap for Algorand, except it's cheaper and much faster than Ethereum. Because obviously Algorand's a better blockchain, and you have this ability to send transactions at lightning speed, make swaps at lightning speed, and with little to no transaction fees. I think we think that's amazing technology. We think not only for assets like Choicecoin and even other, like there are other great Algorand assets that will benefit, like Opolis, Yieldly. They have had a great success on Tinyman so far. I think Tinyman's going to promote a lot of these assets, and it's going to make the entire, because obviously algo, the asset itself, is just one small part of the blockchain. Tinyman will make the entire blockchain that much better and that much more valuable, thus increasing the value of algo. That's where we kind of applied our human thinking to the rationale of being bullish on algo.
Yeah, and it's also just it removes a barrier to decentralized finance, because this is you can move in small amounts. Ethereum, the barrier is like you can't unless you're moving big amounts, it makes no sense to do it because you're going to be paying so much in gas and
Yep.
or you're going to have to like, stay up until 2 a.m. and, time it perfectly and whatever it is you got to do. But with Tinyman and Algorand, you can take part and, you can take your choice and you're not going to pay $100 in a fee to move it or, to swap it or whatever it is you want to do. So yeah, I'm pretty bullish on it too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, here I am. All I do is talk about it. So, okay. So what else? So do you mind me asking where you go to school?
Yeah. So I am a student at Georgia Tech right now, and we're on fall break. So that I'm actually in San Francisco right now, and I met Brian for the first time in person. That was exciting.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was a kind of because that shows the sort of thing that I've been talking about, something not crypto related. I mean, just how far remote work has accelerated the kind of like the adopt like brick. It's been bad on a couple of scales being remote, but it's also been good because now you can build a company, it seems, by not even working with the other person in real time.
It seems you can, like you built an entire company together and you're like, I just met my partner. That's like, that's so cool. So did you guys meet because he's up in Washington, right?
Yep. And I'm in Georgia. So we kind of just decided San Francisco, come up here and just, meet in person, check out some of this great nature up here, check out some of the great nature. And yeah.
Where did you guys go? Where did you go in San Francisco?
We kind of hung out in Union Square, which is like, obviously the big shopping place. And then we went down to Land's End, which is like this great natural, this great nature beach sort of hike. And that was really cool.
That's cool. Oh, so you're
also we checked out Stanford and Silicon Valley, right? Because that's what that's what startups do.
Yeah. So you guys are together now? Are you guys together now?
Yeah, he actually just left. So you just missed him. He actually just left last night to go back to Washington. Okay. I'm here for one more day, and then I'm going back to Georgia.
Oh, all right. So that's cool that you guys are just like got together, and I mean it's got to be an exciting time for you guys.
Yep. Definitely. I mean, with the launch of Choice on Tinyman, with meeting each other, and then it's an exciting time to like because a lot of the past couple of months of it's just been like it's been work developing on the Algorand foundation, but like now we're starting to think more about the business and how to move it forward. So it's definitely a lot of exciting things to come.
Yeah. So another thing that I find really cool. We kind of touched on it earlier, but how like youth is not a barrier to success in this. I mean, you have people like Vitalik Buterin who, I think he created Ethereum in I think he was 19. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you do you follow him? Is he somebody that you are you a fan of Vitalik Buterin? Or
yeah, he's my hero, man. You touched on it exactly. He's like my blockchain inspiration because not only because like Vitalik is I think he represents this community perfectly because he's not really like this cutthroat businessman. He just is someone who is good enough to make cool things like Ethereum, and he's just willing to keep working on that, not really into sort of the business part, but more in, cultivating and kind of sticking with that philosophy that drew me in the first place, this idea of a decentralized world where centralized institutions kind of lose power. And it's really the people putting trust in each other and people working with this shared digital currency to, make stuff happen. I think that's really what that's what he's an inspiration, definitely.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I mean, and he does seem like a guy that isn't, that the money isn't the focus for him.
Yeah.
It doesn't appear like and he's got a lot of it. I mean, let's not be obviously, but it doesn't seem to be what's driving him. And I've noticed
it's the same thing with Algorand. I mean, it's like you have Sylvia McCally's an academic professor who I don't think that's the same thing goes here. His goal was to build a great blockchain, and I think that's why there's so many great things happening in the blockchain space, is because you're kind of moving away from this idea of people chasing money at all ends to now people looking to make the world a better place.
Yeah. And obviously the space is filled with people that want to just make money and scam projects, and that's what people like to highlight. But there does seem to be a very you know, and Bitcoiners too. I mean, there's obviously a lot of Bitcoiners that just want to see the price pump, but there's a large group, you know, a huge percentage of that really do want to make the world a better place. Right. And it seems like there is more people than not in the crypto space that are trying to figure out supply chain issues and how to bring, you know, fair money to the world. And, you know, in El Salvador, there's, you know, who knows about, I don't know anything really about that president. And, you know, there's criticism of him as well, but there's possibility that it could generate real wealth for citizens and money that isn't destroyed by inflation. And all of these things, there's so much, I feel like to me, there's so much more good than there is bad in the space. Yeah. And people like Buterin and you guys, I think, you know, I have a lot of hope for the space, and I'm obviously investing in it and I'm talking about it, but yeah, man, it's really good to meet you. I'm glad that we were able to do this.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It was great meeting you, because obviously you're obviously have like this presence in the Algorand community, which is where, you know, a lot of people, you know, I mean, whether you know it or not, a lot of people look to the ReCoop for their daily update on Algorand. So.
Oh, well, cool. I like to hear that. Well, yeah. I'll keep them coming, and that's really cool that you're, you know, you're checking it out, and you know, yeah.
I think one of the things that people don't really realize about Algorand is just, you know, it's the team, the foundation. I mean, I think the infrastructure is really underrated. I mean, like, just the community. I mean, the experience we've had working with the Algorand Foundation, especially on that grant, but also like the Algorand Inc. people. Like, we had the opportunity to meet with some of them a couple of weeks back, and it was just, you know, they're just so helpful. They're so knowledgeable about, you know, what it takes to make not only a great business but also a great blockchain, and you know, it's just great technology, great infrastructure. And, you know, I think everyone who's in the community right now, they've captured this sort of like first mover advantage, because, like, you know, we're definitely still early adopters. I see Algorand growing very, very fast, not just because obviously I'm biased, but
yeah,
I see it growing really fast in the upcoming months, just based on how much there is building on it. The people that are building on it is also really amazing.
Yeah, no, it seems like everybody's really impressive. And something that also, you know, appealed to me is that, like, you know, the carbon negative and carbon neutral. And then it seems like every project that I talk to has, you know, some sort of altruistic, you know, they're trying to, you know, like Algonaut's planting trees, and other projects are, you know, just there's always something that they're trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the proof of stake technology is just, I mean, I don't think we understand how amazing it is, because, you know, you essentially, like with these proof of work chains like Ethereum and Bitcoin, you have like this negative environmental impact that comes from, you know, miners and decentralized nodes hosting these, you know, immense computing operations to, in an effort to, you know, support the network. But now you're getting all these high electricity fees, all these high this negative environmental impact. And a proof of stake blockchain, you know, it's a lot different. There's nodes that are sort of determining how the blockchain moves forward in proportion to how much algo they've staked in the community, and it just reduces that negative environmental impact on the whole scale.
Yeah, and not to mention, you have somebody like Sylvia McCauley and, you know, and all the other people that we don't know their names behind the scenes working on a proof of stake model, which incorporates, you know, the randomness and how, you know, everything that it does to keep it truly decentralized and not like some sort of delegated proof of stake or whatever it is. It feels, you know, it's a innovative way to handle proof of stake.
Right. I mean, like, I think it's just the way. I think asset allocation also is really incredible. I mean, the way the foundation is allocating the algos to make it more decentralized, you know, obviously, you know, giving grants to projects, giving, you know, rewards, giving Gitcoin grants. I mean, there's just so much opportunity for individuals in the space to get the asset through working for the blockchain. It's like a win-win-win for everyone involved, I feel like.
Well, yeah, and they just invested a huge amount into DeFi, right?
Yeah,
I think it was about
I'm excited to see all the great projects that come out of that. I definitely I'm fortier blockchain as a whole is bullish on the Algorand space. Based on the results from Algomy and based on the investment analysis we did, we think Algorand has a lot of potential, and we're excited to see where it grows moving forward, how all these different projects, how successful they are. And it's also great. One of the things maybe that I didn't have the chance to touch base on was just like the amount of collaboration between all these different projects in this space is actually incredible. I mean, we've had, there's just so much, like, there's not really a competitive spirit. Like, no one's trying to be the best project at Algorand. There's just like this togetherness of trying to make Algorand as a blockchain succeed, because hey, if Algorand as a blockchain succeeds, all the projects on it will succeed as well. So there's a lot of collaboration going on between all these different projects.
I mean, that's fantastic. Like, it seems like, and it feels that way. Even like with, I even like on YouTube with the guys, like, I'm pals with Monty, and it's like I don't feel this way. I just don't feel competitive at all. Like, it's just like we're all kind of celebrating the same thing and trying to talk about it.
Exactly.
And that from what you're saying, it sounds like that's what's happening with guys much more important than us. But what
I mean, in all seriousness, like the community, like the extended community, beyond just people who are working on the project from a technical perspective, like the community is really what drives the blockchain. I mean, it's y'all's YouTube videos. I mean, it's incredible to see that there's people who are covering what's happening in the network on a daily basis, and people. I mean, obviously, I think you and Crypto Nerd and Monty Allen, all these people are coming together to keep the community updated. And it's great work that you're doing.
Yeah. Really. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, and look, this is so Algomy it does 30-day and it does about 30 days in the future. That's the way it's programmed.
Yeah. So the way we got that number was we decided, that was just like we wanted to predict a month out in advance. We wanted to forecast a general trend for a month in advance. So we did our testing in, I think it was September, at the end of September 29th, September 30th, and we got results for October 1st to October 31st. So that's kind of what how the machine was predicting, and it was always, as I said, predicted that trend that I mentioned earlier of it going over $2 and staying.
So you heard it here, folks. Algo is in October is going to get over $2 and it's going to stay there. That's what the algorithm's saying. And this is not financial advice, but we're
no, it is not. But hey, if you're watching this video, you're probably invested in Algorand. So I would say more support to you.
Well, and absolutely. And, I think it's actually hit a low for the past, I think, it's at a low for the week. Last I looked, it was in the 170s, which we hadn't seen, for a bit. So look.
Well, a bit in this space is only like 2 or 3 weeks, which is kind of crazy. Is how volatile the price is. Because I remember, like just compared to, and that's one of the things that as personally as me being a cryptocurrency enthusiast, that's like, even with Choicecoin, right? Like when, especially because Choicecoin, we had a tendency of being addicted to constantly checking Tinyman every 5 minutes. It's like, oh, where's the price now? Where's the price now? Where's the price now? Freaking out. But I think one of the things that's going to be important for both Algorand, for Choice, for all these other projects is this sort of resiliency, knowing that, hey, this is an innately volatile space. But with Algo, as also our volatility predicted, our volatility algorithm also predicted for the next 30 days only an average of around 5% in volatility. So we're excited to see.
It's been behaving pretty stable. I mean, it's been compared to the, because these, you can have, Bitcoin was 28,000, like, I don't know even how, was that 2 months ago? Like, time's flying, but still, it was not that long ago. And now it's more than double that, which is wild. And that's obviously off-putting to a lot of people, that keeps people at, my wife, for example, is like, this thing just went to 28 and now it's at 58. She's like, she owns a little bit of it, and she's a governor. She's going to be a governor. So, she listens to me every once in a while. Algorand, actually, she's been watching my videos and she's like, all right, you're actually making a good case for this one. So, okay, where do I need to buy this? I'm going to put some of my money. So I was like,
that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
You drew someone else to the ecosystem. There you go.
That's it. She lives with me, but it's good. I've seen that actually. I've seen it a couple more so than other videos. Like, I have people reaching out to me and being like, hey, I just opened a position on this because of, watching your videos. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I want it to be clear that I don't want, anybody blaming me for anything that happens, but it's an easy case to be made. And all right. Yeah. So, all right, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. It was, I had a fun time. I hope you had a good time in the conversation.
Definitely great talking to someone else who's, clearly knowledgeable, and obviously you're an investor in Algorand. So all the power to you, man.
Yeah, you too, man. And I have a little bit of choice from my, my participation. So I'm going to be holding on to that. And, good luck with the DAOs and getting, the voting mechanism going. And, and hopefully we'll be talking. I'm sure we can talk again soon when these things start to go live, and you can, keep everybody updated.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, it's just a great time to be in the Algorand space with governance coming out and with, just all these exciting things happening. Tinyman, all these, there's just so much going on. It's just really great time to be here.
Yeah, man. All right, cool. All right. Well, enjoy your last day in San Francisco.
Yep. Yeah. It definitely will be. It's a nice relaxing break from all the craziness that's happened over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. So what are you going to do? Do you have any plans for the rest of your day, or?
We're planning on going up to Alcatraz, and checking that out. Cool. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Going up to Alcatraz.
Is this your first time in
San
Francisco?
First time in San Francisco. Yeah, I've been to California before, in Los Angeles, Disneyland, when I was like 7 or 8. But
yeah.
Well,
that's a good place to be. Yeah, I'm actually from up there. I'm from the East Bay area. So
gotcha.
Yeah, so yeah, I've spent a lot of time in San Francisco.
Gotcha.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. All right, cool.
All right. I mean, come on. How cool is that guy? Thank you for coming on, Archie. And I also love what he said about the Alchemy price predictor. He says, October, we're getting over $2 and we're staying above $2. And I think that is clearly going to happen. So right now, as I'm recording this, we're in the 170s. Buy the dip, folks. I might not put this out until tomorrow or the next day. So maybe the dip is gone. I have no idea. But it doesn't matter because I know you guys are buying the dip anyways. So it's all good. All right. Hey, everybody, if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching. Do your homework.